Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. If you support my voice during this tough time, this crisis, I just want to thank you. And I know there are other things you could spend your money on, but if you want to support my voice, thank you so much. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter. And I just want to... Okay, here's the reality of what's going on. The reality is the following. Joe Biden is not going to be nominee. Joe Biden is not going to be nominee because he cannot withstand constant, never-ending negative press. He needs some kind of positive press. He has not received positive press ever since he began his campaign. He has not received positive press. Okay, they don't want him. His name is not Bernie Sanders. Democrats despise Bernie Sanders. They absolutely despise Bernie Sanders. They don't want Medicare for all. They actually risked their lives and their health in the rain during a pandemic to vote against Bernie Sanders. And they could have canceled the primary. Don't say don't say that. Well, it's their right to vote. It's people's right to vote. They were voting primarily. People went primarily to vote for Biden because the Democratic paradigm now is, well, Biden's going to be nominee, and we have to defeat Trump. And if we get behind Biden, maybe we can defeat Trump. So people went and voted for Biden. You didn't have hundreds of thousands of people voting for state judges. You just didn't. If it was just about if it wasn't about the Democratic primary for Bernie, between Bernie and Biden, you wouldn't have the turnout in Wisconsin. The majority of people went because they wanted to vote for their preferred Democratic candidate, which was Biden. They could have canceled the primary during a pandemic. They chose not to. They said, well, if you want to risk your health, go ahead. We're not going to cancel it. We're just going to blame Republicans on the Supreme Court for saying, they wouldn't give us the mail-in ballots. Well, then, if that's the excuse and you didn't cancel the primary when you could have, and you simply left it to people to just decide to risk their health or not, you would have to actually take one. You would have to actually lose politically, but you would put that loss below the lives or the health of your voters. When they're not forcing Democrats to be stuck in the rain during a pandemic, risking their health, they're cheating voters like we saw in 2016, like we saw in Iowa in 2020. But then they say, well, you know what? Trump. Andrew Cuomo on March 1st said the risk remains low for New York. It's now the epicenter, and there's no reason for undue anxiety. It's the epicenter by far. It leads New Jersey, which is number 2. Of the top 10 states, 7 are Democratic, have Democratic governors. 7 out of the top 10 states. And New York leads. New York has more cases and more lives lost than a great many countries in the world. So, but then you have this. You have Biden, who nobody likes, nobody wants. They voted for Biden only because his name is not Bernie Sanders and not Trump. The issue here is that from day one, I've been telling you, the whole thing is a charade. It is not. You are not seeing a primary like a normal political primary. In 2016, everything changed. In 2016, everything changed. And you have a secret agreement between Donna Brazile and the DNC that Politico published. It was part of an excerpt from Donna Brazile's book, talking about how the DNC and the Clinton campaign had agreements to where Madam Secretary could even hire people and let them go. And money was funneled from state parties into Clinton's campaign. which is a campaign finance violation. And the legal statutes within the campaign finance violation were leveled against the Clinton campaign and Clinton by several watchdog groups. But you don't expect to hear anything about that. Or the accusations against AOC. Gee, I wonder why the usual pundits don't talk about that. The pundits that Bernie Sanders can't endorse. But ladies and gentlemen, you now have a situation where even the Associated Press is now finally reporting. It takes a long time, people. If it's a Republican, believe. Oh my God, the hot mic. Oh my God, play it again. It was an admission. It was a deposition. Oh my goodness. And if it's anyone else other than a Democrat, or if it's a Democrat, then you know what? Treat it with a 10-foot pole, kid gloves. Don't possibly report in the same manner that you report if it's a Republican. But here, former Senate staffer accuses Joe Biden. This is an hour ago. Associated Press. So this is an Associated Press article, Washington Post. A former aide to Joe Biden is accusing the presumptive Democratic nominee of doing things I can't talk about on the live stream. During the early 1990s, when he was a senator, Biden's campaign denies the charges. But I thought that you're supposed to believe. Why would you deny when you're supposed to believe? Oh, okay, I see. Democrats can. So if it's Al Franken, Eric Schneiderman, Justin Fairfax, Bill Clinton, Anthony Weiner, Joe Biden, who else? Every Hollywood celebrity who just loves Democrats. Who else? If it's anyone other than a Supreme Court nominee, then you have to take it with a grain of salt. You can't really believe if it's leveled against a Democrat, because that's not where the value system takes you. And then the New York Times wrote the most despicable, really an attack against this woman. A very courageous woman going up against Joe Biden, and she filed a police report, a formal criminal complaint. No one has ever filed a formal criminal complaint against President Trump because of this behavior. Gee, I wonder why. If you file a formal criminal complaint, you have evidence. You have to, and they even state. Here, Business Insider. This woman filed criminal complaint against Joe Biden. The woman accusing Trump never filed a criminal complaint. Why? Because it says you are legally responsible. If you file a false report, the New York Times says, why would the New York Times write this? To disparage the woman. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why? Almost like a warning, like, if you do file a false report, you will get, there are legal repercussions. So, let me see. I'm trying to find this. We'll read this together. Filing a false report may be punishable by a fine and imprisonment, everyone. Okay, so she filed a report to give herself an additional degree of safety from potential threats. Filing a false police report may be punishable by a fine and imprisonment, says the New York Times. Take that, anyone who accuses a Democrat. Ralph Nieves, Thank you. Take that. Take that, anyone who dares go up against a... So, one of the reasons that Trump's accusers didn't file a criminal report was, it wouldn't be fair to... Then she tried to make it into this... She tried to take an issue about detention centers and then make it about that. Nice try, but anyway. So, I'll keep reading. In 2 recent interviews with the Associated Press, this woman alleged the assault occurred in the basement of Capitol Hill building in the spring of 1993. She filed a police report in Washington on Thursday, saying she was the victim by an unnamed person in 1993, a copy of which was obtained by the Associated Press. It is not the first time this woman made an accusation against former vice president. Last year, she publicly accused Biden of inappropriate touching, along with 7 other women. But don't expect them to care. Biden's campaign is done. There are only 2 politicians who could withstand endless negative coverage. Hillary Clinton, even though the criminal acts and legal statutes are there, but she gets away with it because the media just doesn't want to hear it and they voted for her. And President Trump, who he doesn't get away with anything. He actually can withstand negative media coverage because the majority of the negative media coverage is based around his personality. So there's nothing wrong with having a personality that's brash. Okay, these are the same people who watched The Apprentice for a decade. But also, there's nothing there. Anyone to the left or right, anyone who said that Trump withheld military assistance to go after Biden to swing the election is the biggest tool on the planet. Anyone who said that is just repeating intelligence operative nonsense. President Trump, if he asked Zelensky to investigate Biden, it's because Biden deserved to be investigated because he's corrupt, not because he was afraid of Biden. Trump would easily spend $400 million of his own money tomorrow to ensure Biden would be nominee because Hillary Clinton could actually win. I'm the only person now on planet Earth telling you because I looked at it. All she has to do is win Maine, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Iowa. Wisconsin and Maine, she can win. Iowa, she can easily win, and Pennsylvania is going to be the wild card. Then it's 269, and you're looking at President Hillary Clinton because the House of Representatives breaks a tie. Do not fall into a false sense of security because you and I see President Trump in a different way than millions of other Americans do. When you're watching this channel, you're watching me on H.A. Goodman's other channel, you're reading my writing, great minds think alike. I am trying to tell everybody what could easily happen, what could easily take place. So, but here, in a statement, Biden deputy campaign manager and communications director said the former vice president had, quote, dedicated his public life to changing the culture and the laws around violence against women. Okay. That's not true. Pointing to his work passing the... Okay. If anything, he's an example of a politician that does not understand personal space. It's one thing to be, look, if you know somebody, it's one thing to be like, oh, give me a hug or whatever. If you know somebody And even then, you have to know the person, and it can't be like on stage. Biden does this to everybody. He does it to everybody. Flying Fox Fruits, Flying Fox Fruits. I triple Madam Secretary dare you to look up. Okay, let's see. What is it? Flying Fox Fruits. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, let's see. Oh my God! No, just joking. It's a, what is it, a berry? A native of Rio de Janeiro. It's a giant yellow cherry. Nice. Pitangatuba. Wow. Whoa, a Pitangatuba fruit tree. You can get it you can get it from Flying Fox Fruits. Seeds, Pitangatuba seeds. Okay. Thank you, Flying Fox Fruits. Flying Fox Fruits. So, he was part of the Anita Hill hearings. He is not somebody that the left... Look, he's the antithesis of everything the left stands for. Everything. People calling out Biden on the left, they're not doing anything special. These are the same people who barely touched any scandal or controversy when it came to Clinton. Because they said, well, no, the Republicans are doing that. If you're calling out Biden on the left and you said vote for Clinton, you're going to say vote for Clinton again. Do you understand something? Every single person who said vote for Clinton or vote for Clinton in swing states, because that's even more duplicitous. If you're the type of person who votes for Jill Stein in a blue state but tells other people to vote for Hillary Clinton in a swing state, you're a coward. Pretty much what it comes down to. If you wanted to go ahead and vote for Jill Stein because you believe that the Green Party exemplifies or is the epitome of your value system, then do that. Don't give the Democratic Party exactly what it wants after it cheats Bernie Sanders in 2016. And you see the emails. Because they'll cheat him again in 2020. Because they know you will do anything just to stop a Trump presidency. Which, by the way, we have we have a scaled back U.S. foreign policy. Bill Kristol and Max Boot. Flying Fox Fruits. HA is about to make HA and I legends. Flying Fox Fruits, hello. Thank you, Flying Fox Fruits. Look, let's continue reading because the Democratic Party works in the following manner. This is what I do on my free time, okay? I have a wonderful DVD. It's the Clinton Years on PBS. Everyone should watch it. Just go on Amazon and buy it, okay? I know you're going to think I'm nuts. Okay, Clinton Years. I think it's PBS, right? Oh, it's a Frontline. Yeah, the Clinton Years. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Is it the Clinton Years? Let's see. No, it's not. Is it a Frontline report? No, it's not a Frontline report. I think it's a P. Anyway, it might be. I don't know. Go ahead. Yeah, it's a PBS, the Clinton Years. Go ahead, and it's just really, yeah, it's the Clinton Years, PBS. Everything that President Trump has endured, the Clintons endured. The difference being it was their fault. Okay? The Clintons being it was their fault. Flying Fox Fruits, HSC rematch is the most profitable option for DNC. Absolutely. Not just the most profitable option, the only option, but it's definitely the most profitable option. But he had a special counsel. He had a grand jury, which they tried to get Trump to testify before a grand jury or before Mueller, and it's like, well, they didn't even prove. See, the thing is, President Trump, he even though he went after the corrupt intelligence officials, he couldn't ever say, nobody could ever say that the intelligence community was absolutely wrong, which they were. He couldn't say that because that undermines just too many people within government. So he had to kind of play this game. Well, these are corrupt people. You don't really know if Russia interfered or influenced. Then he had to go back and say, I believe the assessments. Like, he had to play that game while at the same time being investigated because of a confidence assessment that said that he had possibly worked with Russia, which was nonsense to begin with. But see, you look at each of the scandals in the Clinton years, okay? There are so many bizarre things that so many bizarre things. They're always getting into some kind of Travelgate was bizarre. Clinton actually lied under oath, but they couldn't get her because she wasn't, they couldn't find that she had the authority to fire somebody. Then there was Lewinsky, obviously, Whitewater before that. I mean, they're always caught up in something, but the grand jury, there was a grand jury because Bill Clinton testifies before grand jury, August 17th, 1998. On this day, Bill Clinton became the first U.S. president to testify as the subject of a grand jury investigation. He's the only person to testify. President Trump wrote answers to Mueller's lame questions about the intelligence assessments that said that aren't even certain that Russia even hacked the DNC, which is kind of hilarious also. But you have here you look right here. Clinton's testimony capped a 4-year probe by independent counsel Kenneth Starr, who had been named to investigate allegations against the president and his wife Hillary Clinton stemming from the Whitewater real estate venture in Arkansas, as well as suspected cronyism in the firing of White House travel agency personnel. So they had like 3 things all wrapped up into one. Omar Pena! Happy Easter, everyone. Hope everyone is healthy. Happy Easter, Omar Pena. Thank you. Omar Pena, thank you. So, in also examining the allegations of harassment by President, Starr uncovered an affair between Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, a White House intern. Clinton denied under oath that he had engaged in relations with Lewinsky, so he lied under oath. That's a criminal act. Then he obstructed justice, another criminal act. Abuse of power and obstruction of Congress are not criminal acts. These are all subjective with President Trump. They did not list a criminal act in the articles of impeachment. Even the allegation that Trump withheld military assistance, they didn't even say was a criminal act. So, and he didn't because Zelensky stated there was no pressure to do anything. And if he asked for Biden to be investigated, it was because Biden deserved to be investigated. But anyway, Clinton testified he knew Lewinsky was talking to Starr's prosecutors and he knew his DNA could match. Oh, wow. I don't want to say that. Oh my goodness, I tell you what. Medical science is advanced. Oh my God. Okay. I just want to tell you how badly they treated me. They treated me so badly. All I was doing was talking about ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And I was trying to teach the interns about jet propulsion for the new Trident submarine missiles, the nuclear propulsion. And I needed a prop. So I said, okay, there's nothing in the office that resembles that. let me think, what can I do? And so there you have it. And then they got me on that. I was trying to talk about international relations. But see, somebody up there doesn't like my face. I just don't know what it is. That evening, after testifying, Clinton admitted in a nationwide television appearance of having had an inappropriate relationship. He said he regretted having misled. Okay. However, he also said he had given a legally accurate answer, and that no time had he asked anyone to lie, hide, or destroy evidence, which of course was not true. Starr's subsequent voluminous report to Congress led to a move. Then they say, oh, well, with Trump, that was just what Comey said. No, the difference being Comey had actual evidence in the form of servers, in the form of classified data, in the form of top secret intelligence on those servers. There was no evidence linked to Trump. They say, well, the Trump Jr. meeting, why didn't they include that within the articles of impeachment? Well, they say obstruction of justice. Why don't they include that within the articles of impeachment? What exactly did he withhold or destroy? Who did he tell not to be truthful to Mueller? Who did he manipulate so that the person wouldn't give an accurate testimony? The articles of impeachment, ladies and gentlemen, read them. They are the actual proof. They are the actual proof that Trump didn't commit any crimes in the 3 years prior to being impeached. But you look at the Clinton years, and I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm enjoying this DVD. I've seen it a lot, like a million times. They get out of everything. There's nothing they don't get out of. Do you understand? There's nothing. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. There's nothing they don't get out of. It is pretty interesting. But you have to also understand that doesn't last forever. And you're not talking about the types of people. When I say Clinton 2020, don't you think Bill wants to be back also? Oh, I'd love to be in the Oval Office again. Come on now. Come on, people now. Don't you think he would love to be in the Oval Office again? I mean, don't you think that he would absolutely love to be? So let's just get back to Joe Biden. So Joe Biden is not Bill Clinton. He's not Hillary Clinton. He's not President Trump. They try to go after Trump by making things up. He did nothing criminal. Nothing. That's why in the articles of impeachment they didn't list a criminal act. When Bill Clinton was impeached, they list criminal acts and legal statutes. Big difference. Big difference. When Trump was accused, no criminal complaint filed in a police department. When Biden is accused, criminal complaint filed, and then you get the New York Times saying, just to let you know, if you do file a criminal complaint, you're going to be, and it's false, you're going to be taken into custody, possibly imprisoned, and also fined. So you better not be telling a fib. There goes the believe hysteria on the left. The left without hysteria, because they don't have ideas. They don't have ideas. You know this because their ideas, while noble, are almost always not feasible or unrealistic. So you do have some noble ideas on the left, but a lot of it's unrealistic. The ideas that are realistic are not that drastic of a change from the way Republicans do things. But anyway, what's clear about this claim is untrue. This absolutely did not happen. What's clear about this claim is untrue. The staffer's charge comes at a pivotal time for Biden, the former vice president seeking to unify the Democratic Party behind his campaign. It's a nonsense. That is nonsense, people. They're not unifying. They're unifying the Democratic Party so he could give the baton to Hillary Clinton. This will be the biggest political call of all time, ladies and gentlemen. Women are a crucial voting bloc for Democrats, and any erosion of support for Biden could sink his candidacy this fall. Yeah. Women are not going to vote for Biden. Okay, nobody. Man, woman, doesn't matter. Diamondback Diesel! Hello, H. I just want to say hello from Michigan, home of the Governor Gretchen, not Whitmer. Love your live stream. Keep it up. Diamondback Diesel, thank you. Thank you, Diamondback Diesel. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Diamondback Diesel, thank you. And one of the great rappers of all time, MC Breed, is from Detroit, Michigan. And this is the Ain't No Future in Your Front in election. So, let's see. MC Breed was born in Detroit. Eric Breed. He was born... Flint, I'm sorry. What am I saying? Flint, Michigan. He was born in Flint. What am I saying? Okay, Flint, Michigan. That's right. MC Breed, Flint, Michigan. One of the great rappers of the 90s. One of the best songs of the whole 90s. Ain't No Future in Your Frontin'. And that's exactly what the Democrats are about. Only frontin'. But, thank you very much. Thank you again. Diamondback Diesel. Sam Drage! Even except when they claim. Exactly. Except when it's against the Democrat. Exactly. And this is a very Clintonian thing. The Clintonian part of all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have... The Clintonian part is that it's in your face. The treachery, the duplicity, the disingenuous nature of all of this, the politics, it's in your face. They don't care. And there's an audacity here that helps them. They really, like, these, none of them care. None of them care about any of this. They don't care that they look like hypocrites, because that's the way they roll. That's how they do things. They do things in that manner. That's how they do things. Exactly. Anthony S. Taylor Jr., exactly. And it's really interesting. He was whispering to me, trying to, at the same time, and he was saying, do you want to go somewhere? I remember wanting to say stop. I don't know if I said it out loud or just thought it. I was kind of frozen up. And I heard, come on, man. I heard you liked me. Okay, here. Reed said she pulled away. Biden looked shocked and surprised. So Biden's not only a creep, but one friend who knew Reed in 1993 said in an interview Sunday that she told them about the alleged assault when it happened. So all of this, ladies and gentlemen, there's more evidence here than what took place with Kavanaugh. Infinitely more evidence. Okay? And there's a criminal complaint, a police report. And we have a time and a place and a location. And it was a lot more than what was alleged against the Supreme Court justice. But of course, because it's a Democrat, different story. Much different story. So the story of harassment circulated for weeks in both conservative and progressive media outlets. She supported Elizabeth Warren in the Democratic primary. She said her decision to come forward with new details was not politically motivated. Already I was being threatened and kind of smeared. I wasn't ready, so I talked about harassment and what I was more comfortable talking about, but I wasn't ready to talk about. Okay. Then you have, ladies and gentlemen, the nastiest, most duplicitous, most disingenuous, most hypocritical New York Times article. And I'll just read it the way it's supposed to be read, okay? This, ladies and gentlemen, is the most vile article you could ever have. New York Times, April 12th, 2020. I'm not going to use her name, examining this assault allegation against Joe Biden. A former Senate aide has accused Mr. Biden of assaulting in 1993 and says she told others about it. A Biden spokeswoman said the allegation is false, and a former Senate office staff members do not recall such an incident. Could you imagine if this was Trump or a Supreme Court nominee or justice now? Could you imagine? April 12th, 2020. Washington. A former Senate aide who last year accused Joe Biden Jr. of inappropriate touching has made an allegation of assault against the former vice president, the Democratic Party's presumptive presidential nominee this fall. The former aide, who has briefly worked as a staff assistant in Mr. Biden's Senate office, told the New York Times that in 1993, Mr. Biden, and I'm not going to even go pinned. Okay, so really horrendous, allegation. A friend said that Miss Reed told her the details of the allegation at the time. Another friend and a brother of Miss Reed said she told them over years about a traumatic incident involving Mr. Biden. A spokeswoman for Mr. Biden said the allegation was false. In interviews, several people who worked in the Senate office with Ms. Reed said they did not recall any talk of such an incident or similar behavior by Mr. Biden towards her or any other woman. Because she never told them, apparently. What does that have to do with anything? I thought you're supposed to believe. With Kavanaugh, it was somebody. It was the beer keg 30 years ago. He drank beer. No, he didn't drink beer. He drank beer. This is the difference. The FBI has to go to the hot tub time machine, go back. He drank beer. It's still there. It was the Michelob, Bud Light. Oh, my God. It was in the 80s. He drank beer. And people said he drank beer. And you know what? He wrote about it. And that's why, because he wrote about drinking beer. Can you believe how two-faced this all is? Can you believe how much of a hypocrite how hypocritical these people are? And it's beyond like they don't care. That's the thing. Do you understand? Like they don't care. That's how they get away with this, because the media amplifies. Look, you have about 40 to 50 million people in America who will always vote Democrat no matter what. Okay? Of those, all you have to do is pump the same story over and over again. Trump, hot mic, Trump, he drank beer, and, there's a passage in a yearbook, whatever. They'll believe anything because the media keeps pumping the same narrative. Trump withheld military, so he went after his political opponent. Meanwhile, they're going after Trump, their political opponent, but they're okay with that. They're totally fine with that. So it's like, it's all in the way you phrase things. If you go after, if you investigate Biden, you're not investigating Biden because he's corrupt, because he forced out a prosecutor, possibly, almost certainly because his son was on the board of directors of a company that was giving his son millions upon millions of dollars. No. Not that. It was, he's going after his political rival. He's trying to interfere in the election. He's going after his political rival, asking another country to investigate an American. Meanwhile, they bought a dossier that was compiled with help from an active Russian intelligence officer. So tell us again, Democrats. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. And then you get from the New York Times this, just what a horrendous. Last year, Miss Reed and 7 other women came forward to accuse Mr. Biden of kissing, hugging, or touching them in ways that made them feel uncomfortable. Miss Reed told the Times that Mr. Biden had publicly stroked her neck, wrapped his fingers in her hair, and touched her in ways that made her uncomfortable. Okay. So then it goes on to They quickly, President Trump has been accused of assault and misconduct by more than a dozen women who have described a pattern of behavior that went far beyond the accusations against Mr. Biden. No, they didn't. Where are the videos of Trump caressing people's shoulders and massaging them and trying to give them a smooch on the cheek? All people of all ages. Where are these videos? I want to see, because you could just go on the internet right now and see like a million different, whether it's like different White House ceremonies where people are uncomfortable. He's trying to hug and kiss the wives of cabinet members of President Obama's administration as they're being, sworn in. It's really bizarre. So this is just patently false. And he was accused of assault, okay, but the person did not want to file a criminal complaint. Gee, I wonder why. And I wonder why the person wanted to file a criminal complaint against Biden. Biden, criminal complaint. President Trump, no criminal complaint. Oh, I'm sorry, the Democratic coalition filed one. Okay. The president also directed, for one of the things, so the president also directed illegal payments? No. How do we know that they weren't illegal? Because they weren't in the articles of impeachment. Just go back to the articles of impeachment. Randy Duenas! Would you ever run for Congress? If so, what party? Randy, if I ran, it would be a Republican. I would never touch the Democratic Party, but I don't think I would ever run, or I don't think it would probably be 10, 15, 20 years from now. But Randy, thank you so very much. Thank you, Randy. Wouldn't be the Democratic Party, that's for sure. But thank you, Randy, very, very much. Very kind of you. Thank you. So they go. This is a very conniving technique. Okay, it's not even journalism. This is public relations. They start off with, well, Biden has been accused, but we really don't know if what the accusations are true or not. And furthermore, honestly, he's been accused by 7 women, but Trump more than a dozen. And as you know, more than a dozen is actually more than 7. So knowing just basic math, you know that Biden is not as bad as Trump. And if we're looking at everything, it's all morally relative, because look, they're both bad, but who's less bad? It's Biden. That's the Democratic way. It's not, oh, wait a second, this is a value system, and, believe, we're going to find somebody, because the whole thing with Kavanaugh is, wait, can't you find anyone who hasn't been accused? So can't they find one Democratic man Democratic Party male who hasn't been accused of something? I guess not. I mean, look, Al Franken, Eric Schneiderman, Justin Fairfax, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Anthony Weiner, that's 6 right there. 6 wonderful Democrats. Keith Ellison, 7 wonderful Democrats. That's 7 right there, just off the top of my head right there. And let's not get into the wonderful liberal talk show hosts or news hosts. There's about 1, 2, 3 I can name right off the bat that have lost their jobs or that have resigned. Then you're talking about actors. And the liberal establishment is, they're the last people to pass judgment on anyone. The president also directed illegal payments to Stormy, to silence women how do you, that's a plural. See, there's so many hilarious, there's so much comedic manipulation of words and meanings and definitions and grammar here. It's hilarious. This alone is just President Trump, and then a pattern of behavior that went far beyond. How do you judge this pattern of behavior? So then there you go. They bring up a very benign, vague, or they bring up a very vague phrase, without a specific definition. Well, it's Biden might be just as bad as Trump, but you know what? Not in terms of the pattern, though. Really, because this is since 1993. He's never been once Trump was president, then suddenly you had a whole lot of people come out of nowhere. Biden apparently has had this for a long time. Mr. Trump even boasted about his mistreatment of women. No, he didn't. In 2000, first of all, it was a bizarre statement within the hot mic that didn't talk about mistreatment. He was talking about, he added the element of consent within the article. Grab them, bragging that he could get away with anything. Yeah, and then the part of the quote that they ignore is that because they let him, or because it was the element of consent there. The quote is bizarre, but then again, this is part of their religion. These are like, the gospel. This is part of like their holy book. You just put in the hot mic, you put in the Russian Facebook ads, and they pray to this. Russian Facebook ads. Grab them. Stormy tax returns. Putin. And it's like they chant these things, and that's what they have like prayer beads, and they chant and they go back and forth. Putin, Trump, and Facebook, and DNC hack, Trump Jr. meeting. And so they get themselves in this. That's they pray, and they get this like the spiritual. They get sustenance from this. They get spiritual sustenance from this because it's a fantasy. It is a fantasy. Oh my goodness, the burning bush! I love that part. It's a fantasy. They get like. They have to believe this, and when they see the New York Times and the Washington Post, and they say, okay, this is being repeated, the dossier is being repeated. James Comey is saying something. He was a former FBI director, and the New York Times is reporting that the dossier shows. And then George Papadopoulos started the whole thing, and then the Carter Page, and all of the people that are the really esteemed, and they're all repeating the same thing. And I'm telling you, do not underestimate. If you do not vote, take it seriously. When Biden hands it the baton of this putrid, nauseating, whatever you want to describe the Democratic Party nomination process, when he hands the baton to Hillary Clinton again, because she will be nominee and she could actually become president, don't fall into the same thinking that they had about Trump. You can't do this. Don't do it. Do not fall into the same thinking. Hillary Clinton could become president. My official prediction is that President Trump will go 8 years. But I'm not as certain as I am that she'll be nominee. Whether it's the first ballot or second ballot, who cares? The whole thing's nonsense anyway. There's like a million different ways she becomes nominee, whether during the nomination. It's the centennial of the 19th Amendment. Who are they going to get? Biden's accusers to talk about the women's right to vote? Does that make any sense? Biden is the worst candidate. This guy is the most horrendous candidate of all time. There has never been a candidate worse. Okay? Never, ever, ever. There's never been. You can those comedies where people run for president or run for Congress or whatever. And it's just like, there was one hilarious comedy with Zach Galifianakis where he ran for a Congress. It was so funny, okay? It was so funny. And even those those characters were better politicians than Biden. He doesn't even care. He's not even really into it anyway. The whole thing was just getting people tired. Look, in the beginning of 2016, or 2015, sorry, if you were to tell people, hey, these are the DNC emails. Yeah, Russia hacked them, but they show massive corruption. And they showed that Bernie Sanders was cheated, or that one person was cheated, but that Clinton actually worked with the DNC to actually gain the nomination. In 2015, the average Democrat would never stand for it. The media would never stand for it. And that's the way it works. The media, but by 2016, you had Trump, the orange menace. Everything was okay. And so the paradigm changes, and people are willing to accept things they would never have accepted prior to, the horrendous threat they face. It's not happening in the manner you think it's happening. It's happening in the manner I'm telling you. And it'll be the biggest political call of all time. So, let's see here. Then it goes on to say, even so, Mr. Trump at times attacked opponents over their treatment of women. Even so, as if Mr. Trump, it's funny. Bill Clinton has a far worse rap sheet when it comes to allegations. He even settled out of court. So does Biden than Trump. Okay? I mean, they put this like mythic thing around the hot mic things. Like, it was not a deposition, and he talked about a bizarre element of consent. The president has not mentioned Ms. Reed's allegation, which is circulated so because he knows what's going on. Can't you hear Joe Biden? Come on, man. Oh, come on, people, now smell on you, brother. What a weirdo. If this happened, my God. Made her way home, and some called her mother, who encouraged her to immediately file a police report. See, this person should have filed a police report immediately. And that's the most important thing here. You file a police report immediately. The staff declined to take action, Ms. Reed said when she filed a written complaint with the Senate Personnel Office. Now, where's this complaint? She said office staff took away most of her duties, including supervising interns, assigned her a windowless office, and made the work environment uncomfortable for her. They later fired her. And then they go, it's just so preposterous that Senator Biden would face these allegations, Mr. Toner said. I don't remember her. I don't remember this conversation. Well, why would she tell you? This is... And then they quote another person, very supportive environment. You know, it's funny. When the Daily Beast wrote a hit piece on me, it was completely inaccurate. And it was just, this has nothing to do with this, but it was more like, okay, he's a Bernie Sanders supporter, and he's just... the whole hit piece was like, he won't talk to, I wouldn't talk to the guy who wrote it because I had nothing to say to him, and I knew it would be a hit piece. So the whole thing was, why wouldn't he talk to us? This is he's a bad Bernie Sanders supporter. What a weird person he is. And his ideology is really bad. And then the article is written in such a bizarre way where you look at this article, it's like, well, everyone said that the environment was great. And then differing recollections. Wow. They really tear apart this woman's accusations against Biden. It is a sight to behold. Congratulations, New York Times. You never cease to amaze. You never cease to amaze. And look, you think the treachery would lead to a political loss. I'm telling you. Florida Man Bear, hey, fat, come on now, people now, come on. Hey, fat. Florida Man Bear, hello. Hello, Florida Man Bear, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that Florida Man Bear, thank you. Clinton is going to be nominee. It is not going to be Biden. It is not going to be Biden. Just like it's not going to be it wasn't going to be Bill de Blasio. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, all 538 people here, I want you to let everybody know my official prediction is that President Trump's going to win. My official prediction is that President Trump's going to win. But, I mean, the prophecy, the 100% prediction is that Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee. She's the only chance they have. And everything thus far has been, it's been brilliant on her part. Jimbo postponing the convention suits HRC. She's got $2 billion from Bloomberg laundered through his candidacy. She doesn't have the stamina for a long campaign. Exactly. I mean, she might have the stamina. She might, but the thing is, it comes Jimbo and Florida Man Bear. It comes to breaking the will. If you break the will of a voter, Jimbo, they will accept anything. They'll accept anything. If you break the will, the spirit, the hope, the dreams, the Bernie Sanders, small little Bernie Sanders movement has been pacified very easily, like a hot knife through butter. They don't look at the imbeciles that have taken over. They can't even taken over Bernie's campaign. Bernie can't even endorse them. $20 million in venture capital funding. We can go on forever. And you have campaign finance violations. And they're like, take money out of politics. Like, oh my God, the whole apparatus on the left is just based on millions of dollars in funding. Jimbo, thank you. Florida Man Bear, thank you. The funding behind this, look, the way Republicans work is they have core principles, and generally people either center or center, right of center, agree with these core principles. Okay? Core principles. And then also, by the way, you have a very strong... The only movement that says bring home Americans, American soldiers, bring them home, end perpetual interventions, is to the right of center, not really to the left of center, because to the left of center, everyone just votes back to the Democratic Party that their foreign policy is run by Max Boot and Bill Kristol. President Trump, the Republicans who don't like his foreign policy, the Max Boot, Bill Kristol, Robert Kagan, the good Republicans, they are gone. They've gone to the Democratic Party. And then the Mitt Romneys of the world, or the Marco Rubios, or the Ted Cruz, or whatever, or maybe just Marco Rubio, Mitt Romney, the more establishment Republicans, the Lindsey Grahams, they have to constantly decide, am I going to overtly oppose President Trump's foreign policy, or his ideology when it comes to foreign policy, or am I going to support him? So the movement to bring home Americans from never-ending conflict, that's more the Republican side than the Democratic side. And the anti-war people on the left don't really focus on bringing home American soldiers. They focus on other things. They focus on other countries that have nothing to do with the United States. Or I should say, they focus on other countries, not bringing home our soldiers to their families. So that's just the case. Banana Bishop! No, Milwaukee's going to be fine. Banana Bishop! I said, no. 90%, 85 to 90% of Bernie Sanders boosters or supporters are going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Which is funny because on the left, you had people like, oh, yeah, it was just a grift. H.A. Goodman was a grifter. He went from Bernie to Trump. It's like, you do understand that about 10 to 15% of Bernie voters voted for Trump. There's an overlap between Bernie Sanders and Trump. Just because people on the left don't get the overlap between Bernie and Trump doesn't make me the problem. They're the ones with the issues. They're the ones who don't understand what the overlap is, who can't admit that there's an overlap, who are embarrassed that there's an overlap between Bernie and Trump. Just ask, I mean, you don't have to believe me, but believe the establishment Democrats who are that's an attack against Bernie Sanders supporters, which is actually one of the rare times it's true. There is an overlap. Trump got us out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, out of NAFTA. He's scaling back U.S. foreign policy. He's addressing the trade imbalance with China. We had record low unemployment. Now we have record high unemployment. So a lot of this, ladies and gentlemen, also one thing about politics, what happens 2 weeks before the election, what happens a week before the election is infinitely more important than what happens today. Infinitely more important. So, I mean, that's something to that's something to talk about. Infinitely more important. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Let's see here. You're seeing Biden slowly, you're seeing them slowly address the recent allegations. They're trying their best to cover them up because, for whatever reason, they want Biden there just a little longer. Just a little longer. I think that they're going to be very hard-pressed to keep Biden there for the duration of the 4 or 5 months before the nomination. The August is going to be a very interesting time. If Biden goes into the convention, and he could go into the convention as the presumptive nominee, and then people could be making waves, Clinton, draft Hillary, all that stuff, then you have a situation where ladies and gentlemen, where it's an easy call. It's not difficult. Nobody's going to say, oh, you cheated Biden. They're going to beg. They're going to beg and plead. They are going to beg and plead. Please help us. My God almighty, please help us. Save us from this person. Save us, please. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. By the way, I did an upload that everyone should watch, and I explain exactly how it's the draft Hillary movement. It's talking about the draft Hillary movement. It's right here, ladies and gentlemen. So that's really important for people who just don't know how it could happen. Give me your thoughts below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. To my super chat, thank you so very much. Moderators, thank you. God bless. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Passover. And thank you so very much. Be safe. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Subscribe to that channel. Thanks, everybody.